Good morning, Danny. It's November 25th, and I'm coming to you from a comfy chair because we're going to talk about something that really sucks. Politics and the electric car. Yes, I know, I hate politics as much as you do. They're ridiculous, but we're going to talk about it today. I mean, why can't we just be awesome to each other and the planet, and then further our understanding of our universe? As a tangent, people usually view changing your mind as a bad thing, like we should have known better. This is a fundamental problem for how we think, in my opinion. If you're not allowed to change your mind every once in a while, then you'll never learn or progress as a human. While it would be nice for people to reserve their judgments until they're presented with all the facts, this isn't the case for the majority of the time. However, the scientific community constantly changes its mind based on new evidence that's presented. I see this as its greatest strength and not a weakness at all. A great example is that I bet that you think that we thought the world was flat until about the 15th century when Chris Columbus decided that he was going to sail around the world. When in reality, in the 3rd century BCE, and I apologize for my pronunciation, because guess who doesn't major in ancient Greek? This guy. Aristarchus proved that the world was round by using shadows. I'll add a link in the description of how he did it. Anyway, my point is to remain obstinate despite overwhelming evidence is a weakness. Now let's talk about why we went to the moon in the 1960s and why we haven't been back since. Back in the 50s and 60s, and 70s, and 80s, and early 90s, the United States was at war with the Soviet Union, but this time it wasn't a conventional war. It was known as the Cold War, and everyone was in constant terror for the safety of their families and themselves. Both the US and the USSR desperately wanted to win this war, and they developed horrific weapons that could destroy the entire world. The thing is, both countries were terrified of one another being in space and being able to launch missiles from space. Both of them wanted to be in charge of the sky, so they developed space programs so that they could be the first ones to go to space, the first ones to orbit, and the first ones to go to the moon. The United States basically wanted to prove that only with capitalism could man go to the moon. My system of government's better than your system of government. And I know, it's stupid. Science should be done for the sake of understanding and learning more about the universe, not so someone can brag. Essentially, that's true for anything in life. You should do something for the sake of learning and inspiring, not so that you can brag to other people about it. Interestingly enough, this is why I don't post pictures and inane status updates about my life to the internet. This view took me so many years to realize how I wanted to interact with the world around me. Posting that kind of stuff doesn't help the world progress at all. All it does is help feed my ego. Okay, Danny, I know what you're thinking. Okay, Chris, that's great, but what does this have to do with the electric car and its proliferation? And the answer to that question is that the United States has no driving force feeding the desire to develop better technologies for the electric car. In fact, you can view the automobile industry as wanting to keep the status quo thanks in part to the oil companies. Right now, they can't find profit in electric vehicles like they can with petroleum, so why would they spend the money developing innovative technologies for it? Of course, you and I both know the answer to this asinine question is so that we can continue to exist on this planet. But in this case, short-term monetary gains outweigh our need to exist. And that is a truly sad fact. Danny, I'll have your punishment video on Wednesday, and I will see you tomorrow.